Torah Life Ministries, come out of the world.
Hello everybody, welcome, Shabbat Shalom, welcome, and thank you for joining me for this week's Torah reading. This week's Torah reading is Genesis 18:1 to 22:24. And this week we're going to do something different. We're going to go through the whole Torah reading and read through it and comment on it because there's so much I had to comment on. I didn't just want to pick one topic because this is such a powerful reading, and hopefully you already read the Torah reading and you went through this. But I just love the book of Genesis. It's the beginning, and it just helps you understand everything. And so many of the pieces of the puzzle begin right here in Genesis to know where particular places started, who they were and where they were. And in this week's Torah reading, we see Abraham living in the land, and the land that was going to be promised to him and his lineage after him. We also see Lot and his daughters and what happened with the beginning of the Moabites and some of the other people upon the earth that became Israel's enemies later on. So it's very interesting. So we're going to start off in chapter 18. Chapter 18, if you want to turn there, as we read now. It says, "And Yah visually appeared to him by the oaks of Mar, and he was sitting at the door of the tent in the heat of the day." So right here we see something so powerful where Yah himself, it says, appeared to Abraham. Yahweh appeared to him. Now how could that be if no man has ever seen or could ever see Yahweh? Amazing. So there's many questions about this, and I'm not going to get too much on the topic today about who Yeshua is. Is he Yahweh in the flesh, or is he truly the Son, and can he not be Yahweh in the flesh? When it comes to this topic, I say we should never limit of what Yah can do and who he can be. And it saddens me when I see people try to say he's definitely not Yahweh, he's just a son, and he's not God. Or people have all these definites of who he could be, like they know according to the human understanding of who he is. I know I am not going to let my understanding, which our Creator says can never we can fully understand him, equal up to the idea of the fullness of who Yeshua can be. But here we know that someone or something appeared to Abraham in a physical form, that Abraham spoke to. We're going to see some signs in this reading, and to me it doesn't close doors, it leaves doors open. That's why we'll not limit of who he could be. And it says here, and we got other questions about this, but we're going to get into this, and it says here, "He was sitting at the front door of the tent of the heat of the day, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men were standing by him. And he saw and ran to meet them from the entrance of the tent, and he bowed to the ground." So he knew right away that these were holy beings, to whatever level you want to think that was. He bowed to them to the ground, and he said, "Yah, if now I have found favor in your sight, I beg you, do not leave from near your servant." So who was he talking to? He literally said, Yah. He was talking. He called these 3 beings, at least one of them, Yah. Do not leave me. Do not leave your servant. Please allow a little water to be taken and wash your feet and rest under a tree. So this was a physical form and a physical human body to rest under a tree. "And I will bring a bit of bread and will sustain your heart. Then you may pass on, for this is why you have passed over to your servant." And they said to do so you as you have said. And Abram ran into the tent to Sarah and said, "Hurry, prepare 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes." And Abraham ran to the herd and brought a son of the herd, tender and good, and gave it to a youth, and he hurried to prepare it. And he took curds and the son of the herd which he had prepared, and he set before them, and he stood by under the tree, and they ate. So now this brings me to the next question. Why did these so-called angels need to eat? Angels did not need food for sustenance. They didn't need to eat this. Or why would they even eat it all? And whatever you want to say it was it angels, it was Yah in the flesh, whatever it was that came there, they were accepting food and eating it. They were now in a physical form. So it says angels. Abraham said, Yah, don't leave me. But they were now in a physical form, and they were physically eating. In verse 9, they said to him, where is your wife Sarah? And he said, see, at this tent, in the tent. And he said, certainly I will return to you at this time. He says, I will return to you at this time of life in a year from now. Behold, a son shall be to your wife Sarah, and Sarah will be listening at the entrance. Was he listening and started to laugh? Again, beyond our human understanding that somebody this old could conceive. We cannot limit what Yah can do to our own human wisdom. Never doubt. It says we can do all things through him who strengthens us. The enemy's job is to get us to doubt of what Yah can do. But he can do all things. And so we have to think about this. And Abraham, we continue after Sarah laughed, verse 11. And Abraham and Sarah were going old in the days, and the custom to woman had ceased to be to Sarah. And Sarah laughed, and saying, after my being old, shall there be a pleasure to me, my master, also being old? And Yah said to Abraham, why had Sarah laughed, saying, indeed, truly I shall bear, and I am old. Is there anything too difficult for Yah? So remember this. Whenever somebody doubts the scriptures, the word of our Creator, whenever you doubt the scriptures, remember that verse 14. Is anything too difficult for Yah? And the answer is no. Nothing is too difficult for him. Keep that in mind as you read his word. Ask that question often. Is anything too difficult for him? When people say, Yeshua can't be Yah. Why not? Is anything too difficult for him? Because it doesn't match up to our understanding. How could he talk to himself? And you want to put on all these parameters of who he could be and all this. Listen, animals spoke in the scriptures. The sea parted open. Yeshua himself, born of a virgin. Things that can't even cease to exist in today's world. But Yah made that happen. Yah can do everything and anything he wants. He wants. So, is there anything too difficult for Yah? At the appointed, set-apart time, I will return to you at the time of life, this time next year, and you will receive a son. And Sarah denied, saying she did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, no, but you did laugh. And the men rose up from there and looked in the face of Sodom. And Abraham was going with them to send them away. And Yah said, shall I hide from Abraham the things which I am doing? And Abraham shall surely become a great and powerful nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him so that wherever he may command his sons and his house after him, even they may keep the way of Yah, to do righteousness and justice, on the intent that Yah may bring on Abraham that which he has spoken of him. And what he had spoken was he was going to give him the land. The land was going to be his. And Yah said, the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great. Their sin is exceedingly heavy. Now, we got to pause here for a second and think their sin is exceedingly heavy. The sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was, we know, sodomy. The sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was fornication, was sexual immorality, but sodomy was the pinnacle of what was going on there. And we look at what's going on today. If the sin was great then, exceedingly heavy, how much more so, or how much so as least, is what's going on today. Today, most of the world has become a mimic of Sodom and Gomorrah. And Yah's looking down on the sin that is exceedingly heavy. And it's just a matter of time, and maybe it is now, that we are suffering the consequences of this great, deadly sin. As man continues to deny the great sin and support the wickedness, we need to take the example from Sodom and Gomorrah. Verse 21, I will go down and I will see if they have all done according to the cry coming to me, and if not, I will know. He didn't have to go down. He didn't have to go there. He already knew, just as Adam and Eve were hiding. Where are you? Why are you hiding? He already knew when he asked them if they ate the apple. He already knew they did. It says, and the men faced around from there and went towards Sodom, and Abraham was still standing before Yah. He was still standing before Yah. That's what it says. Amazing. He was still standing before Yah. And Abram drew near still, said, it is so. Will you cut off the righteous with the wicked? Perhaps there are 50 righteous within the city. It is so. Will you cut off and will not spare the place for the sake of 50 righteous ones that are within it? Far be it from you to act this way, to put to death the righteous with the wicked. For be it from you, the judge of all the earth, that shall he not do right. And Yah said, if I find 50 righteous men in the city, in Sodom, then I will spare all the place because of them. And Abram answered and said, behold, I pray, I have undertaken to speak with you, Yah, and I am dust to the ash. Perhaps there will be lacking 5 from the 50. Will you destroy all the city for 5? And he said, if I have found 45, I will not destroy. And he continued still, speak to him, and said, perhaps 40 will be found there. And he said, I will not do it because of 40. And he said, because of, please Yah, do not be angry, that I may speak. Perhaps 30 will be found. I will not do it if I find 30. Verse 31 says, and he said, behold, I pray, I have taken to speak to Adonai, perhaps 20 will be found. And he said, I will not do it for 20. And he said to Yah, don't be angry with me. He said, I will not destroy it because of 10. And when Yah finished speaking to Abraham, he left, and Abraham returned to his place. So Abraham was speaking to him, negotiating with him, or at least pleading with him. Will you destroy this place if there are 10 righteous there amongst the wickedness and all the wicked people? And Yah said, I will not do it. But you know what? There wasn't 10 there. There wasn't 10. Because he did destroy it. He did destroy it. Then we go to, and it says here, and he left, and Abraham returned to his place. That was the end of that meeting. We go to verse 19. It says, the 2 cherubims came into Sodom at evening. So now 2, but weren't there 3? So interesting. 3 angels came originally. One, Abraham was saying was Yah, calling him Yah, and he stayed behind and spoke to Abraham. But the 2 cherubim came into Sodom, and Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom. And Lot saw, and he rose up to meet them, and bowed his face to the earth. So he knew right away that these were special, holy people. He bowed to them. They weren't just strangers coming in. They deserved the reverence. Abraham knew and Lot knew and gave them that reverence. And he said, behold, now my masters, please turn into your servant's house and lodge, and wash your feet and rise early and go on your way. And they said, no, we will stay and lodge in the street. And he much urged them. And they turned on to him and came into his house. And he made a feast for them. And they baked unleavened matzahs, and they ate. Again, they ate. Why did they eat? Did they need to eat? But they ate, it says. So again, they ate. Verse 4. Before they had laid down, even the men of the city, the men of Sodom, entered or circled the house, from the young to the old age, all the people from its limits. And they called to Lot and to him, where are the men who came to you? Bring them out to us, that we may have sex with them. This shows you the vile nature of what was going on to the people back then at that time. And Lot went out to them to the door, and he closed the door behind them. And he said, my brothers, please do not act evilly. Behold, now I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and do to them as you see fit. Only do not do this thing to these men. On account of this, they came into the shade of my roof. And they said, stand back. And they said, this one came to visit. Must he always be our judge? Now we will do evil to you rather than to them. And they pressed on the man upon Lot violently, and drew near to break the door. But the men put out their hands and brought Lot to them into the house and shut the door. So Lot literally offered his daughters, his virgin daughters, to these men to try to protect the angels. Do not lay a hand on them. And these men, now the question is, why? How could he actually offer his daughters? I mean, that's pretty amazing thing. That can't be overlooked. But there's different opinions, but he knew that they weren't going to accept that. But he was trying to express how much importance these angels or these men had, and destruction. If this was going to happen, if these men were going to continue to the pursuit of these angels, the city's going to come to an end. And that's what just happened with the fire and brimstone. Verse 11, and they struck the men at the door, and the house with blindness from the small to the great, and they struggled to find their door. So they literally had the power to make every single one of them blind. Wow. Wow. Now this is absolutely Yah working here. Whether it was through them or however it was, but they had the power to make every one of them blind. And the men said to Lot, who still is here with you, bring out, or the men or the angel said, bring out of this place your sons and your son-in-laws and your daughters and whoever belongs to you in the city. For we are about to destroy this place. For the cry of them is great before Yah, and Yah has sent us to destroy it. Remember, there's 2 of them now, not 3 of them. And Lot went out to speak to his sons-in-law, those taking his daughters. And he said, rise up and go from this place, for Yah is about to destroy this city. and he seemed as one joking to his sons-in-law. And this is verse 15. And when the dawn rose, then the cherubims urged Lot, saying, Rise up, take your wife and your 2 daughters, who are found, lest you be consumed by the perversity of the city. And he lingered, and the men lay hold of his hand and his wife's hand, and in the hand of his 2 daughters, Yah having mercy on them, and they caused him to go out, and they put him down outside the city. And it happened, as they led them outside, he said, Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, and do not stay in all the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be swept away. And Lot said to them, Please, no, my master. Behold, now your servant has found grace in your sight, and you have magnified your mercy, which you have done to me, in saving my life, and I am not able to escape to the mountain, lest some evil overtake me and I die. Please now, this city is near to flee there, and it is a little one. Please let me escape there. It is not a little thing that my soul may live, is it not? Verse 21. And he said to him, See, I have lifted up your face also to this thing, without overthrowing the city for which you have spoken. Hurry and escape there, for I am not able to do anything until you have come there. So the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun had gone forth, and the earth and Lot came into Zoar, and Yah on earth rained fire and brimstone on Sodom and Gomorrah from Yah out of the heavens. And he overthrew those cities, and all the plain, and all those living in the cities, and the produce of the ground. And his wife looked back with pleasure from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Now, there's a lot of commentary about what this means, that she looked back and literally did she become a pillar of salt, or what happened to her, but we know she ceased to exist and go on with Lot and the daughters, and that was the end at that time of where they were. And verse 27 says, And Abraham started up early in the morning, going to the place where he had stood there before Yah. And he looked towards the face of Sodom and Gomorrah, and towards all the land of the plain, and he saw, and behold, the smoke of the country went up like the smoke of a furnace. And it happened, when Elohim destroyed the cities of the plain, Elohim remembered Abraham, and he sent Lot out from the overthrow when overthrown the cities which Lot lived. And Lot went up out of Zoar and lived in the mountain, and his 2 daughters were with him. For he feared to live in Zoar, and he lived in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. So he and his 2 daughters, they ended up leaving Zoar and going to the mountain, just like Yah originally said and told them to do. In verse 31, And the firstborn said to the younger one, Our father is old, and there is no man in the land to come into us as the way of the earth. Come and let us make our father drunk. Let make him drink wine, and let him lie with us. That way we may keep alive a seed of a father. Pure wickedness from his daughters. And you could say they didn't want the seed to end. They didn't want his father's seed to end, but it's pure wickedness what their plan was. The lack of faith in Yah is just the result of them most likely living in a land surrounded by such wickedness that they would even think of this plan. But they went ahead. It says here in verse 33, And they caused their father to drink wine that night, And the firstborn went in and lay with the father, as he did not know when she lay down and when she rose up. And on the next day it happened, the firstborn said to the younger, Behold, I lay with my father last night. Let us cause him to drink wine tonight also, and you go and lay with him, so that we may keep alive the seed of our father. And they caused their father to drink wine that night also. And the younger rose up and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down, nor when she rose up. And both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. And the firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. And the father of Moab and he is the father of Moab to this day. And the younger also bore a son and called his name Ben Amami, and he is the father of the Ammonites to this day. So it's very interesting that Yah allowed them to conceive and created Moab and the Ammonites, who both became Israel's enemies. Yah didn't have to allow them to conceive. So we're going to look more into that as we get more into the Torah, but that's something to think about. There's the wickedness of these daughters to get their father drunk, to let this happen. But Yah is the one that ultimately let it happen, because Yah has a plan that goes beyond our understanding, as we always say. So we're going to look at now at verse 20. And Abraham pulled up stakes from there to the land of the Negev, and lived between Kodesh and Shur, and stayed in Ge'er. Now, Abraham didn't know what was going on with Lot. He assumed Lot was spared, because that's Yah showed him he would do, but he didn't know what was going on at that time with Lot. And Abraham said, with regard to his wife Sarah, She is my sister. And Abimelech the king of Ger sent and took Sarah. Now, this is another time, because we already discussed in the previous Torah reading where Abraham did this. And he did it here again. The lack of faith that he had to trust that, him and Sarah would be fine. And Yah already said they would conceive. So why was he concerned? But Elohim came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, Behold, you are about to die because of the woman you have taken, she being married to a husband. And verse 4 says, And Abimelech had not come near to her. And he said, Yah, will you slay even a righteous nation? And did he not say to me, She is my sister? And she even herself said, He is my brother. In the honor of my heart and the purity of my hands, I have done this. And Elohim said to him in a dream, Yes, I know that you did this in the honor of your heart, and I will also withhold from you, sinning against me. On account of this, I did not allow you to touch her. Wow. Even though we have free will to make our decisions, Yah knows what our decisions are going to make and what the outcome is going to be. But he also is one that's able to allow or stop some things from happening. And he is the creator of all things, the director of the play. And he says here, first of all, I find it's amazing that the pagan king here would even acknowledge Yah. But I'm sure he heard about the stories, what happened in the past. And here he himself is in this story. And he doesn't want to have the same issue amongst him and his people. Verse 7. And now return the wife of the man, for he is a prophet, and he will pay for you, and he will pray for you, and you shall live. And if you do not restore her, know that surely you shall die, you and all that are yours. And Abimelech rose up early in the morning, and called for the servants. And he spoke all these words in their ears. And the men were greatly afraid. And Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, What have you done to us? And in what have I offended you, that you have brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? You have done things to me that ought not be done. And Abimelech said to Abraham, Why did you see that you have done this thing? And Abraham said, Because Abraham thought. He thought, why do he think this? He said, Surely the fear of Elohim is not in this place, and they will kill me for my wife's sake. You see, Abraham, he was told he was a man of faith, but at this point he wasn't faithful enough. We'll see in the next chapter what happens with Isaac, how he's been built up in his faith, but at that point he did not make a decision based on faith. And verse 12. And yet she really is my sister, daughter of my father, only not daughter of my mother. And she became my wife. And it happened when Elohim made me wander from my father's house, even I said to her, This is your kindness which you do to me. And every place where I come, there, say of me, he is my brother. Abimelech took sheep and oxen, and male slaves and slave girls, and gave to Abraham, and he returned his wife Sarah to him. Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before you, live where it pleases you. And he said to Sarah, Behold, I have given 1,000 of silver to your brother. Behold, and it says, I have given all this to your brother. So he acknowledged him. He said, I've given this to your brother, not to your husband. Very interesting in verse 16. Behold, it is for you a covering in the eyes to all which are with you, and which all this you are reproved. And Abimelech prayed to Elohim, and Elohim healed Abimelech and his wife and his concubines, and they gave birth. Amazing. He shut off their wombs while this whole situation was going on until he prayed and everything was restored, and then he gave them the opportunity to conceive again. This is Abimelech and his concubines. And verse 18. For Yah had completely closed every womb in the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, the wife of Abraham. Now we're up to verse 21. And in this Torah teaching, we're going to 22-24. 21. And Yah visited Sarah as he had said. And Yah did to Sarah as he had promised. And Sarah conceived and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the appointed time that which Yah had spoken with him. Amazing. Amazing. Not only did it come true, but exactly at the time he said it would come true. This is why we need to look at the calendar. We need to look at the appointed times. We need to trust Yah, because everything he says will come true. Verse 3. And Abraham called the name of the son who was born to him, who Sarah had born to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, a son of 8 days, and as Elohim had commanded him. And Abraham was a son of 100 years when his son Isaac was born. And Sarah said, Elohim has made laughter for me. All who hear will laugh with me. And he said, Who would have said to Abraham, Will Sarah suckle sons? For I have born a son to his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast on that day. Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, mocking. And some people would suggest not just mocking, but sexually assaulting. Some people would suggest that was going on here. And she said to Abraham, drive away the slave girl and the son, for the son of the slave girl shall not inherit with my son, with Isaac. And the thing was very evil in the eyes of Abraham on account of his son. And Elohim said to Abraham, let it not be evil in your eyes because of the boy. And on account of your slave girl, all that Sarah says to you, listen to her voice. For in Isaac your seed shall be called. Also I will make a nation of the son of the slave girl, for he is your seed. And Abraham stood up early in the morning and took bread and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar, putting them on her shoulder, and the child, and sent her away. And she left and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. Now, I would suggest to you that it was amazing what Abraham's about to do with Isaac and being willing to sacrifice him. But Abraham setting his seed free, his son free, here with Hagar was another amazing act of faith that's always overlooked because Yah said to let him go. This had not happened yet with Isaac, where he was going to sacrifice him. But letting his son go is almost similar to a sacrifice. It's just amazing. Amazing. Verse 15. And the water from the skin was finished, and she put the boy under a shrub. And she went and sat down opposite him, about a bow shoot away. For she said, let me not see the death of the boy. And she sat opposite and raised her voice and wept. And Elohim heard the voice of the young boy, and the messenger of Elohim called Hagar out of the heavens. And he said to her, what ails you, Hagar? Do not fear. Elohim has heard the voice of the boy there where he is. Rise up, lift up the boy, and make your hand strong on him, for I will make him a great nation. Verse 19. And Elohim opened up the eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the skin with water, and gave drink to the young boy. And Elohim was with the boy, and grew up, and he lived in the wilderness, and became a great archer. And he lived in the wilderness of Paran. And his mother took a wife for him out of the land of Egypt. Because remember, Hagar came from Egypt, and she was living in the wilderness, and she took a wife from the land of Egypt. And it happened at the time, Abimelech and Pichol, the general of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, Elohim is with you in all that you do. Verse 23. And now swear to me here by Elohim that you will not lie to me, to my son, and to my hire, according to the kindness which I have sworn to you, do to me and the land which you have lived. And Abraham said, I will swear. And Abraham reproved Abimelech on account of a well of water which the slaves of Abimelech, had seized. And Abimelech said, I do not know who has done this thing, and also you have not told me. Even I have not heard, except today. And Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave to Abimelech, and both of them cut a covenant. And Abraham set 7 lambs of the flock by themselves. And Abimelech said to Abraham, what are these 7 lambs which you have set by themselves? And he said, you shall take the 7 lambs from my hand, so that I may become four more a witness that I dug this well. Verse 31. On account of this, That place is called Beersheba, because of the two of them swore there. And they cut a covenant at Beersheba, and Abimelech and Pekal, the general of his army, rose up, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there he called the name of Yah El Olam, everlasting. And Abraham lived in the land of the Philistines many days. Now, I've been to Israel one time, and I've actually been to this land and saw these wells. Regardless of what anyone says, the Bible is true, the Bible is real, hallelujah, and all the evidence is there today to show that. All right, well, thank you for reading this Torah with me. We're up to the last chapter, chapter 22, and as we get into Isaac, we're going to start to see some pretty amazing stuff. And when we see Isaac and Abraham about to sacrifice Isaac, and we see and realize that Yah himself sacrificed his only son, Isaac is a very special character in Scripture. Isaac is, we can almost see an example of Yeshua from this reason, or from this standpoint. Amazing. It says in verse 22, verse 1, chapter 22 of Genesis. And it happened after these things that Elohim, testing Abraham, said to him, Abraham, and he said, Behold, I am here. And he said, Now take your son, Isaac, your only one whom you love, and go into the land of Moriah, and there offer him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains which I will say to you. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his donkey, and he took two of his youths with him, and his son Isaac, and he split wood for a burnt offering, and rose up and went to the place which Elohim had said to him. And on the third day Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place from a distance. And Abraham said to his young men, You stay here with the donkey. I and the boy will go over there, that we may worship and may return to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac, his son, and took the fire and the knife and his hand, and the two went together. And Isaac spoke to his father Abraham and said, My father. And he said, Behold, I am here. And he said, I see the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, this is verse 8, My son Elohim, see for himself the lamb for a burnt offering. And the two of them went together. And they came to a place which Elohim had said to him. And Abraham built there the altar and arranged the wood. And behold, his son Isaac laid him on the altar on the wood. And Abraham stretched out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. And the messenger of Yah called to him from the heavens and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Do not lay your hand on the boy, nor do anything to him, for now I know that you fear Elohim, and you have not withheld your son, the only one, from me. So it's amazing. It says, this is really important. It says, the messenger of Yahweh called to him. And then he says, I now have seen you have not withheld your only son from me. So the messenger of Yahweh was claiming to be Yah. That's the way I see it. In verse 13 it says, And Abraham lifted up the eyes and looked, and behold, a ram behind him was entangled in a thicket by its horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it for a burnt offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Yahweh Yireh. That is said until this day, in the mount of Yah it will be seen. Verse 15. And the messenger of Yah called to Abraham out of the heavens a second time. And he said, I have sworn by myself, declares Yahweh. See, the messenger of Yah is declaring he is Yah. We have Yah the Father and Yah the Son separated, and Yeshua's human form here, but we also have them as one in the same place. Yah the Father and Yah the Son, or you want to say Yah the messenger of Yah, and the salvation of Yah, hallelujah, that on account of this thing you have done, will have not withhold your son, your only son. That the blessing, I will bless you, and multiplying, I will multiply your seed, the stars of the heavens, and the sand which is on the lip of the sea, and your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have listened to my voice, as says the messenger of Yah. Again, these definites of who Yah is and who he can't be never limit Yah to your human understanding and Yeshua to your human understanding. Verse 19, and Abraham returned to his young man, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham lived in Beersheba. And it happened after these things, it was told to Abraham, saying, behold, Milcah, she also has bore sons to your brother Nahor. Uz, his firstborn, Buz, and his brother Keneal, the father of Aram, and Chesel, and Haso, and Pedash, and Japheth, and Bethuel. And Bethuel fathered Rebekah. Milcah bore these 8 to Nahor, the brother of Abraham. And then verse 24. And his concubine, whose name was Rumah, she also bore Tabah, and Gaham, and Tahash, and Malkah. All right, so that is the end of the Torah reading for this Torah reading. So praise Yah for that, and I hope some of this made sense to you. Some things that were being said here, and I'm not making any definite claims. I'm just saying we shouldn't limit of what Yah can do on every single level, or who he is, or who he can be, or how he can transform and become physically in one place, or separate himself to become 2. We shouldn't limit that, saying Yah can't do this, or this doesn't make sense to our human thinking, or this is impossible. We should accept and acknowledge that Yah can do all things that goes way beyond our understanding. And it could be a very, very well could be a possibility that things are being done that people are saying can't be possible. So let's not limit these things, and let's focus on the amazing plan of Yah that he has for his people, and the historical story that he has here with this, going all through the scriptures we move forward. Praise Yah. Praise Yah. And as we looked at the appointed time that Yah had given us, and how he gives us these appointments at these particular times that he has for us each Shabbat, and we could see his holy word here. So thank you, Father, for this blessed Shabbat day. Thank you for the brothers and sisters that are here reading along with me. And until then, everybody, make sure next week's Torah reading you read the week before, and we could read it together on the Shabbat. Thank you, everybody. Have a blessed day. Yah be with you all. Hallelujah. And shalom, shalom.
Torah Life Ministries come out of the world. Messiah people seek the truth.